I cannot believe this. I feel like I should have had a birthday cake or something like that prepared, or an anniversary cake or a celebration cake of some kind to like just put out there in front of the camera and say, hey, guess what? This is video number 30. Yes, 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 yes. Wrapping the series on abuse. This is the final video, video number 29 we just dropped, and we concluded that video by me giving you the example of the abuse that I still face with my family today. But let's turn the tide for a moment, shall we? What does a healthy family look like? What would things look like for me and my siblings and my parents if we were a healthy family? What does that look like? It's imperative for us to know. A healthy family encourages and supports each other. A healthy family has open, honest, and loving communication. A healthy family has a patriarch and a matriarch that lead with love and strength and unity and forgiveness and kindness, patience, and compassion. A healthy family has members that trust each other and do not backstab, gossip, manipulate, or deceive. A healthy family respects each member and honors each member despite differences of opinion. A healthy family resolves conflict quickly and in a unified manner, where each member feels heard, valued, and protected. A healthy family spends time together and makes time for each other. How many healthy families do you know? I would absolutely love it and be in your debt and eternally grateful if you were to stop this video right here and put a comment below that tells me how many healthy families do you know. I believe it's likely that I will not get one comment below. I think it's likelier that what I just described sounds foreign to you, just like it sounded foreign to me when I first started discussing those concepts of what a healthy family looked like and what a healthy relationship looked like with my counselor way back in June of 2020, which is why I did this series on abuse. If healthy families are not common and healthy families are not the norm, then we need to create a healthy family for each other. Earlier, I think it was video number 27, the first segment in these concluding videos, where I made the statement, I've put up and shut up my entire life, 50 years, and I am no longer putting up or shutting up about my abuse. In June of 2019, I finally left a toxic workplace, a job that I should have left 4 years prior. The very first time one of my narcissistic ex-coworkers raged at me. By June of 2020, a full year after I left that toxic workplace, the hurt, the anger, the bitterness, and the resentment still plaguing me, that is when I knew I needed help. I needed someone in a professional capacity who understood and knew what they were talking about, who had the skill, the wisdom, and the experience, who could help me answer the question, why? Why was I still hurting from that perfect storm? I had felt such relief when I first left that job. Why did I still even care about that place or my experience? It was just a job. I admit, begrudgingly asked for help. I asked someone who was not close to the situation, someone who did not know me, someone who had no ulterior motive, someone who could objectively listen to what I had to say and what I experienced and what I witnessed, and could explain to me why I felt the way I did, why those negative feelings persisted, and most importantly, someone who would tell me what to do about those feelings. And one of the very first things I learned in counseling was that how I was feeling had nothing at all to do with that perfect storm or sinking ship. How I was feeling had nothing to do with that workplace or experience. That work experience simply had been a triggering experience for me. That job and that work experience had been the replication of my childhood and how I was raised. It was the adult version of my childhood. In that workplace, I was reliving my childhood, which was extremely painful for me. We were a small office of just 7 people, all of whom were unhealthy in some form or fashion. And the exact same bad behaviors that I had grown up with were very prevalent in that office. The emotional instability and volatility, the anger, the rage, the control, the manipulation, the deceit, those behaviors and more tormented me in childhood. And here I was as an adult with the exact same patterns of abuse having followed me from childhood into adulthood, unbeknownst to me, repeating itself all over again. And this is what they call a triggering event or triggering experience, wherein a reaction is emotionally unequal to the catalyst, triggering emotions that are buried deeply within and or even unknown. This is what happened with me on that job. Essentially, I was an unhealthy victim of 2 narcs, believing myself to be healthy, as I have believed my entire life, but one narc's anger in particular towards me, combined with my inability to stand up for myself, caused me to become over-focused on her being held accountable by others. I spent far too much time and energy blaming her, believing and trying to convince her and everyone else around us that she could and wanted to change and be better. There I was in the role of scapegoat again, being blamed by unhealthy, angry, and controlling people for upsetting the system. I was asking for justice, fairness, respect, and kind behavior. And I was being told that I was being too emotional and that it wasn't reasonable for me to expect others to behave in an appropriate manner, that it wasn't reasonable for me to expect to be treated as well as everyone else was being treated, that it wasn't reasonable for me to expect the leaders to stop the narc from her temper tantrums, that she be held accountable. I banged my head against the wall for 4 years, trying to get her to stop and trying to make our office a peaceful, professional, and friendly workplace. I drove myself to near breakdown until I finally realized and accepted that I was failing miserably and needed to leave. During those few years leading up to my near breakdown, I had completely ignored my own true feelings and reactions to the narc's rage. I was avoiding asking myself the why question. Why was I feeling and why was I reacting in the way that I was? I told myself that my reactions were just my ability to remain calm, responsible, and professional. I even congratulated myself at my ability to remain calm. When the truth was, in reality, I was seething on the inside and all I wanted to do was haul off and punch her in the face. I was completely ignoring the fact that my own reaction to her rage were the very unhealthy reactions of flight, fawn, and freeze every single time. By excusing and ignoring my own feelings, I was absolutely unable to evaluate the situation objectively. By me excusing and ignoring myself and my needs, I not only gave her all the power, but I simultaneously surrendered my own power. It should never have mattered to me one iota whether she was held accountable by anyone else. The only thing that mattered to me, or should have mattered to me, was that I held her accountable for her behavior and her treatment towards me. That is what I could control, myself. And I didn't. Of course, I couldn't control her or how she behaved. And I couldn't control the other people in the positions of authority in our office or how they handled her. Just as I couldn't control my parents or my 2 older brothers during my childhood and adolescence, or even to this day. But what I can control is me. In childhood, you have limited control. Even in adulthood, sometimes you have limited control. But many, many, many times we do have control and we don't even realize it. When we're kids, we have no reference point for understanding the world that we live in and that we exist in and that we're developing in, much less understanding ours or others' emotions. The only ruler we have is our parents or our caregivers and the people who are the most influential in our lives as children, the people who raise us. We enter adulthood believing that whatever our reality was as a child was normal, and we don't even think to question it. Why would we? As children, we believe everything we're taught. We grow into adults who believe everything that we were taught. Regardless of the truth of it, we accept it as truth and fact. When we're ignorant of what's healthy and what a healthy relationship looks like, we have no ruler to measure unhealthy against. Therefore, every behavior, every habit, every pattern, and every dynamic in every relationship is acceptable. We allow all kinds of unhealthy behaviors and patterns to sneak their way into our relationships and make us feel crazy. And then one day, we find ourselves struggling. We ask ourselves why we're mentally and emotionally exhausted. We wonder why we can't seem to get along with our kids. We wonder why we can't seem to sleep through the night. We wonder why our physical health is declining despite eating healthy or exercising. We wonder why we hate going to work. And we wonder, worse, why we hate coming home. And we wonder why we feel desperate. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed anything. I am just a person who has walked in the shoes of abuse. And I do understand that road. Everyone's story is unique and painful to varying degrees, but everyone's story can be turned around. Be patient with yourself and give yourself grace. Be good, be lovely, and be whole. Trust yourself. Let the rest of the world see every little sparkle that makes you who you are. Your abuse and your trauma have shaped you, and your healing and your learning and your growing can shape you as well. So be authentically you. Do not be your past, and do not let others define who you are. Don't believe what others have told you you are. You are who you say you are. You have personal autonomy. Cling to truth. Cling to justice, cling to grace, cling to joy, cling to kindness, cling to respect, cling to peace, cling to gratitude, and cling to reconciliation. Remember, too, that the brain is mighty. So stop your brain when it starts to run away. Back this video up a few seconds and re-listen to that list I just read. Remember, if you're feeling anxious or fearful, that it's your brain telling you things. And your brain is just a part of the central nervous system, and it's just communicating with the other parts of your body. That's all your brain is. And your body is made to function as a well-oiled machine. So if your brain is acting up or malfunctioning, take it to a mechanic if you're able to. But don't let something like the alternator in your engine, which is totally repairable, be the reason you give up on your car or trade it in or sell it. You can't jump in front of a runaway train barreling down on a crowd of people and expect to get out alive. That'll kill you. However, you can pull on the train switch and switch the track at the junction. And that will not only save you, it'll save many other people. In closing this series on abuse, let me just read you a quote that I found the other day that I thought was so appropriate and powerful. And it is, "The final stage of healing is using what happened to you to help others." I just love that quote because it basically very briefly and succinctly summarizes the whole point of this series and the whole point of this channel. I truly wish every single one of you wellness and wholeness and healthy healing journey. And with that, I want to say once again how much I appreciate you tuning into this video. Number 30, a nice round number to wrap the series on abuse. And I invite you to come back for more Whole Wellness with Ann. Take care of you. Bye.